Good morning, good afternoon. Hey Augusto, how you doing? Hey Nav, good morning. Good to see you all. You can see me okay, hear me all right? Put it into the chat and let me know. All right, cool. Give it a minute and we shall get started. All right, everything seems to be working fine. All good, thanks for that, Nav. My neighbors, either upstairs or somewhere, have decided that they want to do some renovations today. So we might hear a little bit of hammering and drilling as we go through the session. Just bear with me on that. Don't know why they chose to do it today. Hey Ju Marinas, how you doing? Good morning. Hey Linley, hope you're well. USCAD coming back down slightly, so I hope you got your trade managed there. Alrighty, let's get started. So it is a Friday, the 28th of June. Next week we're heading into July, the second half of 2024. Again, where has the year gone? It's just sped by. I don't know, I'm feeling that life is going by faster than it used to be. What do you think? Are you feeling the same thing as well? Not a lot of trades from yesterday, or no trades. I didn't get into anything for yesterday. I was still watching the US yen. It hasn't broken my levels. I didn't get into any trades. If you did get into any trades, do put it into the chat and let me know. Share, what trades you got into. If you made money, if you lost money, put it in. We can have a look at that. If you're new to the session, do drop a message and say hi. Let us know where you're joining us from. And for all the regulars, a big welcome back. Thank you again for joining me on this daily market analysis. All right, if you have any questions at any point in time, please feel free, as usual, put it into the chat and let me know. And you can help me out massively by remembering to click on that like and subscribe button. It does help, and it can only come from you. So I appreciate all the help that you can deliver on behalf. All right, with that said, good morning Diana, how are you doing? A quick disclaimer, any information contained on this webinar should not be construed as advice and is presented as educational material only, as the contents of this webinar are not intended to be a recommendation to trade a financial product. Please remember that your objectives, financial situation and needs has not been considered, and you should consider its appropriateness to your circumstances. Now, take that away. Oops. Take that away. Now we're sitting right here. Go back one. What has happened since the last time we spoke? We had the US with their final GDP quarter on quarter. No big surprise there. It was 1.3. It was 1.3. It is expected to be released at 1.4. It did get released at 1.4. Unemployment claims, a weekly number. It was 238, revised by 1K up to 239K, expected 236, came out at 233. It's all within, that's the drilling that I was warning you guys about. Hope you can still hear me all right. It's all within the same bandwidth, so no big surprises there in terms of unemployment claims. Let me just do that. All right, so no big surprises there. While we had core durable goods and durable goods release, it was a bit of a mixed bag of numbers. Again, this all translated to what we saw here on the dollar index last night. Where were we? Right there, right? So it pushed down, but it stayed above this 50 level, and came back up. So no big change, right? It's just some fluctuations from 105.95 down to 105.75 before bouncing right back up off that 50% fib retracement level. Right, so it bounced right back up and then came up again to test that previous high of 106.12 before now retracing slightly again. Okay, so that was what has happened since the last time we spoke. The US yen early this morning, well, yesterday, was sitting in that area. This is confusing me. I was trying not to have that session breaks, but it's confusing me a bit, so let's take that away for now. Okay, the US yen was sitting in that wide, I wouldn't say it's a consolidation, but a bit of a wide consolidation, because this was where we were yesterday. It retraced back down towards that previous swing high or tail that we saw on the 29th of April. It came back down slightly, tested almost that trend line before pushing back up. Early this morning, I was highlighting that the US yen, as it was pushing, looked like it was going to continue higher, right? But it didn't close above, I'll move this aside again. It didn't close above where we wanted it to go, so didn't enter the trade. I did a quick sneaky scalp to the upside on the US yen, but a very small move. Expecting it to push up higher, it didn't, so I closed out the trade. So that was the US yen, the main thing that was, we were expecting. I thought it was going to continue pushing higher. Hasn't done that so far. My pending sell is still at this 159.60 level. I might be looking to push that up later on today or maybe into next week, but I'll tell you more about that shortly. Kiwi, Aussie, it's all pushed down slightly through this morning, but it's been sitting there. We saw a lot more volatility than expected this morning, because this morning we had as well the, where was it? I don't see it here. Well, this morning we had the US, oh, there we go. Sorry, yeah. The wackiest Trump versus Biden presidential debate this morning, right? Singapore time, GMT plus 8, I think about 8 a.m., 9 a.m. we had the debate where we saw that liquidity increase across the board. We saw the dollar index at that 8 a.m. time push up off that 105.90 level, 2 hours to the upside before retracing back down slightly. Okay, so that was what has happened since the last time we spoke. In terms of the presidential debate, Jimmy's not on yet, but I'm sure he will be asking this. You can check back on this, Jimmy. I'll highlight this to you. He's the one asking about the presidential debates all the time. No, Trump was just being Trump, right? Unfortunately, he sounded very reasonable. He was diverting away from questions he didn't want to answer. He was saying things that he wanted to say regardless of the questions. Biden was being Biden, where he was answering, but sounded a little bit confused, I would say, right? Unfortunately, so it did come down to the point of, we need maybe to see the next few sessions to really get an idea of what's the tendency or where it could head towards, right? So I haven't really thought too much about it to draw a conclusion at this point from my point of view. So I would wait and think about it a little bit more. All right. Hey, in your case, how are you doing? Euro, Swiss franc, good call. Thanks for that, Diana. I appreciate that. Trump is better than Biden in terms of his speaking, but Trump does come with a bit of wackiness, does come with a bit of wackiness, so things to be careful of. So I'm half a way away, so I'm just giving my point of view. And Biden needs to retire now. He probably needs to retire. He probably needed to retire a couple of years ago, but he's still trying for second term. So we shall see how that plays out. As you can see, it does have some impact on the dollar, but very short term impact. That also was something that I was sharing in the Discord channel, where I said, hey, we are seeing that liquidity, but it could be short-term fluctuations due to the debate. Okay, Trump is more business-minded, not a political guy. He is quite political, but with that business approach. So it's, it's all double-edged. It's like leverage. It's like trading with leverage. You got the good side, you got the bad side. As much as the good is good, the bad is terrible. So you got to find that balance. All right. Hey Lydia, how are you doing? So with all that said, with the politics aside, now looking at what has happened today, we know the Kiwis are on a holiday. We have Japanese CPI being released. It was 1.9, expected 2, came out at 2.1. Core CPI for the JPY didn't do too much in terms of the yen at this point. I think the question on the yen is still, is there intervention? When is there, or when is the intervention coming in? How much higher can it get? Okay. I'm doing a little bit of a more significant write-up on the yen in the longer term kind of views. I'll share that into, when I've done that, I'll share it into the Trading View post. Do watch out for that. Now, with that, we had GDP for the UK at 2 p.m. just 1 hour ago, was a 0.6, came out at a 0.7. Did not do too much on the pound, a dollar. With that following on, we have a bunch of euro news again. Saw some fluctuations, but not anything too significant. The main thing, I feel that the markets right now, the main thing would be watching out for the core PCE price index tonight. It is at a 0.2. It's expected to slow down to a 0.1. Again, the core PCE price index is the Fed Reserve's primary inflation measure. So that's going to have, if it does go from 0.2 to 0.1, I think that it's a small slowdown, right? It's a small slowdown in inflation growth. I don't think it's going to materially affect the decision on the Feds, or from the Feds with the rates, right? Hang on, let me just load that up. I know I should have loaded this before, right? It's still at that 89.7% chance of keeping rates on hold, with a 10%, small 10% chance for a cut in July, on the 31st of July. I don't think, unless we see the core PCE price index coming out at a negative number, which seems really unlikely. Unless we see that coming out at a negative number, I don't think we're going to see a massive move on the dollar. You'll see that on the 31st of May, when it went from a 0.3 to a 0.2, let's find 31st of May. Where are we? Here we go, 31st of May, right there. Where am I? Here, right there, okay. So that was at 8:30 p.m. If we look at this on the 31st, there, 8 p.m. Right, we did see that drop, but it only went from a 104.63 down to a 104.40, set along that point. was probably outside of the Bollinger. That's why it came right back in again, all the way through to Monday before some other news brought it back down again. Right, so not expecting, this was when it went from a 0.3 to a 0.2. If it goes from a 0.2 to a 0.1, I'm probably expecting a similar move, a bit of a dip before pushing back up again. And you'll notice here that the preceding move on the dollar index was to the downside before that news, right? Even a week before, it was just sitting in the range, it popped down before pushing back up again. Now, when we look at the current, take that away. When we look at the current, the dollar index is on the upward push. It's on the upward push. So even if it does go from a 0.2 to a 0.1, I'm thinking that we might see a little bit of a blip to the downside, but generally expecting that push back up on the dollar index. Does that make sense so far? Do put it into the chat and let me know. I realize that a lot of times I ramble on for minutes on end. Just want to make sure that you guys are still on track with me. Put it in, let me know. And yes, we can look at the pound Aussie, not a problem. All good, all good. Put it in. And if you are watching from any other platforms, do drop a message and let me know. Okay, thanks for that, Lindley and Diana. Now, with that as well on the core PCE price index. Hey Basanta, how are you doing? During that same time, we also have the Canadians with their GDP number to be released. It was a 0, or it's currently a 0. It's expected GDP month on month to bring it up to a 0.3%. That might bring about some strength on the dollar, on the pound, no, on the, not pound dollar, on the UScad, right? GDP going from 0 to 0.3, bring about some strength on the loonie. That would make sense, so we'll look out for that as well. The main thing, well, the next main thing, so this was the first main thing. I always say the main thing, but that's the first main thing, the core PCE price index. The second main thing is that, remember, we are on the 28th of June. It is the end of the month. It is the end of the quarter. There could be some rebalancing. And end of the week, end of the month, end of the quarter. We are looking that I'm paying attention that the dollar has pretty much gone up for this week from that 105.40 level up to as high as that 106.12 level. I'm thinking also that we might see a little bit more lack of what the word is, might see some retracement due to profit taking, to the closing of positions, might see a deeper retracement than we would expect. Okay, so that's something to watch out for as well. So that's all the things to look out for in terms of the news for today. Because it is the end of the week, let's do a quick preview into what to look out for next week. That's on Sunday, not too bothered. We have the French parliamentary elections to be held. I don't have a view of that at this point. I'll probably wait to see a reaction on Monday. German preliminary CPI, not too bothered. US manufacturing PMI. CPI for the Eurozone. Chair Powell speaking on Tuesday about the policy panel at the ECB forum. Don't think it's going to do too much. We do next week. It is the start of the brand new month. So on Wednesday, we do have the ADP, non-farm employment change number. We have the US unemployment claims. We have the FOMC meeting minutes on Thursday morning. CPI and parliamentary elections for the UK. And then that's the 4th of July. 4th of July, so we have the US on a bank holiday, Independence Day. And then we have the non-farm employment change on Friday. All right, so I'll put it out there to you guys. I'll put it out there to you guys, especially members on the Discord channel, well, in particular to members on the Discord channel, next week, it's up to you to decide when should we do a Zoom session, and we can have a chat together about anything trading, or have a chat about your trading journey, and also ask your questions. I'll provide some answers and have a live trading session together. So would you like to do it on the Wednesday? Most likely. I don't think we should do it on Monday. I don't think we should do it on a Tuesday, so maybe a Wednesday, definitely not Thursday because the US bank holiday, or a Friday with the non-farm employment change. So it's your choice. Put it into the chat or onto the Discord channel. Let me know. I will have to reserve my time to do the session with you guys. Okay, so it's up to you, but a few things to look out for into next week with the non-farm employment change number, CPI for the Swiss, parliamentary elections for the UK, ADP for the US on Wednesday, Independence Day as well on Thursday, and Euro CPI numbers and GLTS numbers on Tuesday. Okay, so let's look into that. We have the first vote for Friday NFP. Anyone else? Now with that dollar index, now looking at the chart here on the dollar index, that's done what we expected, right? So it's sat around this area, it testing the support at this, stay above 105.75. It did that, stayed above 105.75, bounced to 106.40. Didn't get to 106.40, but it didn't because it didn't break that previous high. So let's take all that away. Okay, let's take all that away for now. And then this one we would keep 50 right there. I don't need that. And that's a cleaner chart. I don't even need this. Okay, now with that, we've seen it test 50 and bounce. Augusto, yes, what's the main focus of the Zoom? Can we talk about practical entries? And you can talk about anything on the Zoom session. You can ask questions, you can talk about entries and exits, where I'm, when it moves, I'll tell you when I'm getting into it. The last time we did that, we had some news event. I can't remember what the news event was. We went into the minute time frame. I was talking about how to scalp, where I was getting into, where I was getting out of, why I was getting in and out of trades. So it's all in a minute time frame. 5 minutes is no holds barred on the Zoom session. Okay, 50 bounced off. I like what I see here. It doesn't look exactly like a head and shoulder, but it does have that resemblance. Now, looking at this, oh, and the Zoom is only for Discord members, so do make sure you are on Discord and a verified member. I've got my trend line, that's going to hold. I would expect that to hold. So what I'm looking at here is I'm thinking that we could see, right, they know that I'm talking and they just want to drill more, so just listen up. I'm expecting this to come down, maybe test and push back up, especially with that trend line, to test that trend line and push back up, right? So I'm just thinking again, needs to stay above this point, 50%. Why I'm hesitating a little bit, I'm just wondering whether it could break and hit lower forming a bit of a double top, breaking and hitting lower, but I like this a bit more. So what I'm thinking here on the dollar, today being the 28th, is that we want to see it's retracing. It's retracing. No. Wait for retracement to complete. Should stay above 105.90, which is that support level and that trend line area. Hey Wyatt, how you doing? Which is test that area to bounce. Okay, dollar index, I'm still bullish. Wait for it to complete to do that. Look for breakout of 106.12 to climb to 106.40. Okay, so retracing, look for it to complete before it bounces to break out of 106.12. It's very similar to what we were talking about yesterday. To break above 106.12 to push to 106.40. And definitely needs to stay above that 50% level. Okay, so that's the view on the dollar, looking like a little bit of weakness for now, but we're looking for the bounce. Look for bounce and breakout of yeah, okay, there we go. Retrace, bounce, push up. Now with that makes sense. I like that. Okay, with that, then looking at the Kiwi, right? We had that test and reject to push down. This morning I was highlighting the Kiwi to the downside as well, but it was, when we highlighted this, it was at that, move that side. When I highlighted this, it was outside of the Bollinger, so I said watch out, Kiwi likely, but it's outside the Bollinger. It bounced right back in after that, set along that point, pushed down slightly, but as it was pushing down at that point, you see that on the dollar, it was also finding a bit of a resistance along that previous high. So I was looking at the Kiwi. I was very keen to get into that trade, but I wanted the dollar to break above that point. So if you got into the Kiwi at that point as it broke, right, you would be on about break even at this point or losing a little bit. I'm looking at now as an update on the Kiwi. If you got into that trade, or even if you didn't get into that trade, what I'm looking at here is a possible, where am I? A possible consolidation here, or a push and then a rejection back down again. Right, so that's a support turned resistance. Okay, I don't need that. That's a support turned resistance. It came down. 38.2 is broken. So we don't need that one. Want to see that test. 50 is still okay. Not the strongest level. Okay. So now I'm looking at this in terms of the dollar. Again, remember dollar retracing. So we should see some weakness on the dollar before ideally looking at the strength come back into play. So weakness in the dollar, looking for continuation to the downside. If I'm looking at this, let me just try something. 23 is right there. Okay, so it just needs to stay below this area. It needs to stay below this area to remain bearish, to test and reject and push to the downside. So I'll be looking at, I don't want to look at that. That's fine actually, 25. I think that's very similar to what we were looking at yesterday. Test and reject, I'll be looking for it to break the previous low. 6055 is a 30 pip stop, right? Because I'm looking for a retrace and push back down. Take profit, I will go down to 50 to the downside towards that 61.8, towards that previous swing level. I would actually even go there. No, I'll go there, right? Because we're looking at what could happen on the dollar. Looking at that, I think what you can actually do is look at a bit of an earlier move. 6070, so a test and reject. You'd have a 20 pip stop and push down to a 60 pip take towards that 61.8 level. I like that. So it is going to be a little bit of an earlier move, but we're looking for a test and reject of that resistance to push back down. Okay, 6070, 20 to 60 to the downside on the Kiwi. 6070, 20 to take profit, 60 to the downside. Diana says yes, I would sell from fair value gap at the H1 on the Kiwi. Yes, it broke. That's the area you're looking at. So test and reject. Yes, okay, I'm happy with that. Then onto the Aussie, again, did not retrace before pushing down. Take that away. Now at this point, the trend line we can do without. Doesn't make sense. 50% is broken, 61 was held. All right, so take that away, 61 was held. It's retracing back up, it's in that range, right? It's been in that range this whole, pretty much this whole week. So it bounced off, came back down. I'm actually thinking whether it's worth doing that 20 to, no. I mean, you could trade it up, all right? So you could trade the Aussie up, anticipating that dollar weakness to factor in. So this could push up, but it's not an H1 kind of setup. It could be an M15 kind of setup that you might want to look into. At this point now, I would actually, I mean, yeah, Dinah just read my mind on that. I was just going to say that. Dinah just said, I wouldn't touch the Aussie, don't like the chart on the daily time frame. I haven't looked at it on the daily. I was just going to say that I think from memory through this week, I was expecting it to retrace before selling down, It hasn't retraced before selling. It's just been pushing down. At this point, I wouldn't be looking to buy it up. But again, I'm looking at it pushing up to around that point and failing. Right, so it wouldn't be a kind of now trade. I'll be looking at a 20 to 40 to 50 to the downside, but it's in that range that it's really anything could happen. It could just bounce around in the middle. So I'm not super keen on the Aussie at this point. right? And if you look at this, it's been in this range, which is pretty much 128 pips range. But if you really catch the main part of this whole move, right? If you really catch the main part of this whole move, we are pretty much right in the middle right now. Right, in this whole thing, we're right in the middle right now. I don't feel like it's a good level to try and guess where it could head towards. I don't think this is reasonable. I think that we have this point here and that point there, so I don't really want to, I don't think it's worth trying to do anything on the Aussie. Okay, so Aussie wouldn't be, it'll be a, we haven't hit anything on that for this week. I would say it's a do nothing, look for reaction at key levels, or wait for reaction at key levels. Could we presume as consolidation for the Aussie? It's a wide consolidation. Rather, I actually like to think of it more as a it's taking its time to decide where it wants to go. All right, because we have seen the dollar index actually find a good direction, but yet the Aussie hasn't translated that. So it's a bit undecided for a bit of a longer time. Now with that, then onto the yen. Right, I'm keeping this selling option, but I think that I don't want to be looking for an upward push at this point. That's not a resistance, that's a support. Hang on, the two lines very close together. I don't think I need this two lines. I need one, of which I will be looking for it to be at that 23.6 level, just in the middle there. And that's not even 23.6 because I'm pushing it up slightly. I'll be actually looking at that level there. I don't need that dotted line, take that away. Okay, so I've got that point here as my round number resistance level. That I'll update as my previous swing high. I'm not too keen on the upside. It feels like the upward push. I know I will regret saying this because it's possibly going to go up higher, but for now it feels like the momentum for the upside on the US yen seems to be slowing down, right? So looking at a possible consolidation or retracement along this level, struggling to break that 161 level. Okay, so I'm looking at this. I don't need that. Sorry, I'm just adjusting my lines. It's feeling, I thought Naren was saying that he's tired. No, yes, the yen is getting the exhaustion. Feels like it. And if you look at, when you talk about exhaustion, you look at the RSI as well, you can see that, you know, that was significantly overbought. It's come right back down. It seems like it's pushing back down a little bit. So I'm not super keen on it. I think that I would push that to 159.85. I have been thinking of where to put my sell order, right? Where to put my sell order. I'm planning, I'm positioning for in case the BOJ intervenes. I'm thinking that I should push this up to 159.85 to when it breaks to the downside. But nothing for now on the US yen. Okay, we had good moves. We enjoyed the yen as it went up. We were talking about that over the last couple of days, but I feel like it's slowing down. So US yen, I would say, could still head higher. Right, I do think you'll get to 163, 164. I might cap it out at 165, but it's not going to go in a straight line all the time. It's going to go up to 161 right now. Maybe retrace before pushing back up again. But so that's why it could still hit higher, but exhausted for now. Look out for possible intervention. Okay, so that's what I'm thinking on the US yen. Yeah, that will make sense. Okay, but Santa's asking, do you reckon there's a double top on the dollar index? That was something I was considering. There is also that possibility of that shoulder head, slight shoulder that way, neckline skewed with a level there. So we're looking for that to bounce. So it's a couple of patterns in there, but patterns aside, I'm thinking, you know, with the core PCE price index, we're looking at that maybe fluctuating before trending to continue to the upside. Right? I don't see why the dollar index would have a big drop. It shouldn't do it just because of a double top. I don't see any other reason why it should have a big drop. Naren say, I had a big slippage on intervention on the way down. You will. You're very likely to have a big slippage on intervention because it's going to go from there to straight down. So there is a chance of a slippage. It happens. That's why you would want to. I'll kind of put it a little bit further away. If you put it there, you might get caught out. Put a little bit further away, you've got a better chance of getting executed at a good price. Check your brokerage as well. Okay. Now I ramble on a bit too much. Let's go on. Pound, dollar. Pushing, everything seems to be pushing back up now, right? Everything seems to be pushing back up. Pound, dollar pushing right back up. We saw this, we were talking about this yesterday. I think Diana was saying that she was looking to sell around, I can't remember around where, but we're looking at that 50% level as it to test the trend line, that bearish trend line. And then that 50% level. Tested, pushed back down. I think what I'll be looking for, like everything similar, thanks to. It's only been 2 years, it feels like it's been a long time. Oh wait, hang on, let me just. Sorry about that. That drilling is doing my head in. Okay, I would actually think about the pound dollar. I would actually think about the pound dollar here in the possible event that we do have a double top on the dollar index. We're going to see a big retrace on the dollar back down. What if it breaks above this trend line? Breaks above this trend line. Breaks above that 61.8 level up there and heads up. All right, so I'm thinking about that. If we see a, let me see how far is this. This is a 50 pip move to the upside. I wouldn't want to trade it up to that resistance. So if we see big dollar weakness, then you'll be looking at 1.27 above 1.27, so 1.2705. Stop loss will be 25. Take profit, you could go, I don't need that, let me just take that up to 50 and 61.8 there. That's something to think about. Counter trend, okay, this is a counter trend move, so we're possibly a bit of higher risk. I'm looking at this and thinking that, hey, if we see massive dollar weakness, breaks that trend line, breaks that resistance level and previous swing level there, look to buy it up 1.2705, 25 to 60 to the upside. Okay, so I'm looking at this at 1.2705, stop loss 25, take profit 60, counter trend move. Okay, there we go. Does that make sense? Highlight that point. Okay, then then we're going to watch out for 1.2740 as well. Might hesitate there. On to the euro. That's not a support, that's a resistance now. Take that away because it's bounced back up. Tested, rejected. I want to see the current dollar weakness, right? Maybe a bit more dollar weakness. I actually want to see this push up, but I would like to see this test and reject that resistance back down. Then I'll be looking at 1.0715, stop loss 15, take profit 45, back down towards that point. I'm not going to anticipate much below this point for now. If it does break, you can drag it down lower, but for now we'll keep to that. 1.0715, 15 to 45. Where am I? 1.0715, am I right? Yes, 15 to 45. Okay. So that's pushing up. That's okay. I'm happy with that. 1.27 is R2 pivot for pound dollar. So yeah, so it needs to break above 1.27 before we can see that big retrade correction back up. If it doesn't break above 1.27, then we'll see it turn back down again. So we're going to keep that as an option of dollar weakness scenario. I was going to look at, okay, then onto the US Swiss franc, consolidate, break up, moved up slightly. You can almost do this. So I'll put that there, I'll move that up, maybe a bit less, and then I'll put that there again. Right? So it's the same thing. It's been sitting right across, it's popped up, it's sitting right. It's been sitting right across, it's popped up, it's sitting right across, it's popped up, it's sitting right across now. Dollar index sitting there, so we're looking at that sit across and pop up. I'll keep that. I haven't been too adventurous on the US Swiss franc, so I'll keep that. You could at best go for a little bit of a lower level, 9020. 15 to 55 to the upside. Yeah, okay, 9020. Where am I? 9020. 15 to 55 to the upside. But Santa is saying, want to know about your journey of Forex trading and being an expert. I'm not an expert, I'm just trading a lot more than you guys. Maybe in some So act as a catalyst wise. For sure, Basanta, come on to the Zoom, ask the question, I'll answer. I don't lie, I'm not so good at telling the story as much. But if you ask a question, I will answer. If you ask a question, I will answer. Okay? Now with that, happy with that, onto the USCAD. I know I have to talk about the pound Aussie, and we will also look at the Euro Swiss. Okay, so hang on tight with that. US CAD, we were looking at this as well this morning. I think Lindy has it and has managed his trade already, right? Lindy has break even and partial profit taken. I think it might have closed you out at break even on the other part of it. So that's pushed up. If you didn't get into, or if you got into that, it's most likely going to hit you out at a stop loss of 20 pips, right? It will happen. There will be times you're going to lose trades and lose at a stop loss, but we're going to see what happens there. As the dollar retraces, it's pushing the US CAD lower. Yes, Lydia is on, so we look at the pound yen and euro yen as well. Now looking at this, it's coming down to test that 23.6 level. 61, I don't need that for now. That level is there. What if I just took that? 38.2 is right there. Okay. Now I'm looking at this. Let me just get a bigger picture. It's not so much the euro being strong. It's not so much the euro being strong. It hasn't really done too much. I think right now we're seeing a lot of movements because of what the dollar is doing. It's retracing, right? It's retracing, so we're seeing that impact of that, and also we're seeing the possibly the end of the week, end of the month, end of the quarter kind of impact as well. I'm thinking of the US CAD. I don't actually need this line. It doesn't, it feels like everything we're looking at, we've had periods like that, it's all sitting right in the middle. It's all sitting right in the middle. And I'm just looking at this as well. 61.8 is where it came right up to. I think I deleted that just then, but it's right there. I want to see it retrace further and then bounce. All right, I want to see it retrace further and then bounce. But I don't see a big move. I don't see a big decision on the US CAD. At best, if it stays above 1.3680, we can look for that bounce. So we're looking at that back up. Yeah. So I'm thinking I don't like this so much. Retrace, 20 pip stop. Back up will be 40 right there, and then further up 80 there. Okay, so that's the thought. Here's the thought on the US CAD. On the loonie is look for it to retrace down to that 1.3680 level. Look for it to bounce off. We'll look to buy at 1.3695. Right, 1.3695. We have a 20 pip stop and 80 pip take. Okay, here we go. Let me put that into words. 1.3695. 20 to 80. 20 to 80 with a hesitation at possibly 1.3730. 1.3730. There we go. There we go, there we go. Happy with that. Then onto gold. We're sitting right there, didn't drop. And it's very odd, you see that gold push up. This was through yesterday where gold pushed up, and at the same time through yesterday we saw, although dollar dropped a little bit, it pushed right back up. So it's moving somewhat in tandem with a dollar. So it's bounced off that support area we were talking about yesterday, where it could bounce 38.2, 50% level, consolidate. Dollar is sitting right there, a little bit more weakness, could push it up. I haven't done too much on gold. I used to like scalp for a while. I scalp gold a lot, but I'm not feeling it so far. I would like to see it test 61 and push back down. All right, so we'll look for selling opportunities on gold if it stays below 2340. Okay, so gold, we're looking for test and reject of 2340 level. Okay, then with that said, now we'll look at the let me just catch back on that. First off is the Euro Swiss franc. That's pushed up, it's sitting right there, looking it's going to continue to the upside. Quite happy with that. Then we'll look at the pound Aussie. There we go. Okay, pound Aussie, we can ignore that part. This is trending down, which is coming towards that resistance or along that resistance. If we look at this, then remember that we're considering that the pound dollar could push up higher. Aussie dollar also could bounce in that range. So on the pound Aussie, I'm actually thinking that maybe if the pound dollar does show a little bit more push to the upside, I would be looking for it to test and reject. Right, test. Why reject? Is because I'm thinking that maybe the Aussie dollar could gain a bit of strength and push it back down, similar to what we saw here. Right, test and reject back down again. So I'll be looking. I don't trade a pound Aussie, just as a disclaimer. Not on my list to look at, but I'll be looking at this as 1.9080. Stop loss would be 30 pips. Take profit would be down 130. Feels like I should be looking at the pound Aussie as my list, but I'm looking for that. I'll look for that to test and reject off that resistance. 30 to 130 back down, similar to what happened here. All right, so what I'm looking at is this level where it's pushed down, this level where it's pushed down. Now looking for it to test and reject this level to push down as well. Okay, hope that's aligned with your view, Diana. Then onto the pound yen. Right, we spoke about this where it's going to test and push back up. It's found a bit of a resistance here. It's the same as the US yen. I think that pound dollar, if it does gain that strength, it's going to push the pound yen up. So you would be looking to buy it up if it breaks above 203.60. It's super high. 230.70 stop loss, tight at 30 pips. You go to the next round number. I wouldn't say 240, it's too near. I would say 240.50, 204, sorry, 204.50 that way. All right, and you look at that trend line, that channel continuing that way. If I took a title channel that way as well, that could work. I want to look at that as a mid-level. So it's just going to sit within this and trade up, right? What I mean by that is it's going to bounce and then look at that doing that way up. Something like that. I do see upside, especially anticipating the pound to push up, but it's, you know, look at that. All right, so it's just sitting there. I wouldn't get into this just because of how high it is. There looks like a big drop is coming, but the yen is holding it up, right? And I've traded way back many years ago, pound yen, the euro yen, and the US yen to massive upside, and we saw trade all the way back down as well. It's kind of feeling like that, but it's just sitting right there now. So trade it up, but be quick with closing out those trades. Okay, then euro yen as well, showing a little bit more sense in terms of finding a top or feeling topish, but how much? It's only about how much is it going to retrace by before pushing back down again, pushing back up again. Right, it's just going to sit there. Euro dollar, it's just sitting there. I think the dollar is getting a bit of, it's just sitting there now. So euro yen, again, I wouldn't be selling. So I wouldn't be selling it down just because of the way the trend has been going. You would say that it stays above that point. You look for it to come down, bounce around this point and trade it back up. Then you would trade it to the next round number at 173. Right, a test and bounce, then you trade up to 173 that way. Okay, thanks for that, Naren. I hope that answers your question on the yen pairs, Lydia. Back to the pound Aussie. If you were looking to buy it, if it breaks that risk, I don't see that happening too soon. Looking for the test and reject. In fact, it might not even test and reject, it might just turn from here. If it does turn from here, I wouldn't be too keen. Still, you can trade it down, but I wouldn't be too keen. Might take a smaller trade to the downside. Okay, so with all that said, many charts that we looked at, not a lot of trades, I would say. I'm not super keen on any trades today. I don't think any of these ones are screaming out that I have to get into. Made this week, not a lot of trades, but made good trades on the yen and the pound 2 days ago. Pretty much settles for this week. I'll look forward to next week, but unless something really shouts out later, I'll let you all know on the Discord channel. So if you haven't already, do join me on Discord. The link is up there. And please remember, click that like and subscribe button. I'll see you all next week, same time, same place. Take care now. Bye-bye.